1995's Haine, directed by Mateo Katsovitz, is a stylish slice-of-life film that explores some super heavy themes like police brutality, social inequality, racism, and cyclical violence. And it's all encompassed in a single day in the life of three disenfranchised young men. Let's talk about it. The movie starts off with a series of news broadcasts showing some riots that happened the night before and revealing the driving force behind the whole story of the movie, which is a young man named Abdel who's been severely beaten by police and he's in critical condition. The three stars of the film are friends of Abdel. First being Vince, who's an aggressive young Jewish man eager to prove his strength and masculinity to his friends. Then we have Hubert, a more level-headed and ambitious black boxer. And last we have Saeed, a North African Muslim and loyal friend to both Vince and Hubert. All three young men are in this sort of limbo stage of life that many young men, myself included, go through and can really relate to. It really kind of reminded me of myself and some of my friends in my early 20s. Me and my buddies weren't really getting into the same kind of antics that these guys were, but it was definitely relatable. Even though something seriously traumatic happened to these three men the night before, they spend the day wandering around aimlessly, hanging out on rooftops and talking about TV shows and girls, and obviously the riots the night before. The whole movie has this very similar vibe and feeling to Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing. There's very heavy subject matter, but it's kind of covered with this thin layer of airiness and aimlessness. It's not completely plotless, but the characters do seem to have no real sense of direction. Now, the movie takes place over one long day, but you do get the sense that this is almost like any other day for these guys. Early on in the movie, Vince, Hubert, and Saeed are hanging out at a rooftop party that gets broken up by the police. It's crystal clear that the tensions are high between the locals and the authorities, and a fight nearly breaks out between the two parties. Shortly after the rooftop party was broken up, Vince reveals to his friends that he actually found the missing gun that a police officer lost during the riots and was revealed in one of the newsreels earlier on. Vince plans on using this gun to take some revenge and kill a police officer if their friend Abdel doesn't make it. Hubert, being the level-headed of the three, tries to convince Vince that this is a terrible idea and to leave the gun, but Vince isn't listening. The three then go to the hospital to visit Abdel, and Vince brings the gun with him without Hubert and Saeed knowing. Saeed is then arrested when the police won't let the boys visit their friend. Throughout the movie, there's this tension building between the youth and the police, and now that we know Vince has this gun and he's a very unstable young man, when we're introduced to him at the very beginning, there's this iconic scene where he's kind of staring at himself in the mirror and he's emulating Travis Bickle from Taxi Driver. And as this tension's brewing, it really just feels like a powder keg, like Vince could pop at any moment. And yet somehow the movie does still have this very airy, aimless vibe to it. It really does just feel like any other day in these young men's lives, aside from the fact that, their friend is in the hospital and some riots happened the day before. There are some very touching and funny moments of friendship, and you really do get the sense that the relationship that these guys have with each other is more important to them than almost anything else. Hubert even lost his gym that he worked really hard to get in the riots that happened the night before, and he even suspects that Vince may have been there and had something to do with the vandalism that happened, but he never really confronts Vince about this. The boys split up for a little while, and we're briefly introduced to Hubert's family life, and you really get the sense that he has higher hopes and expectations for himself, and he's really just trying to better his situation. The three reconvene just in time to witness Abdel's brother attempt to take some revenge by shooting at a police officer. Chaos ensues, and the three are nearly captured by riot police, but they manage to escape and hop a train to Paris. My favorite scene in the whole movie happens here, where they meet an old man in a bathroom by chance who overhears them and chimes in with an incredible story about a man who froze to death because he was either too prideful or too shy to shit with the rest of his comrades. The story is dark, but it's also very funny and heartwarming. You can tell the old man is trying to teach the boys a lesson, but it seems to just go over their heads. I also think the story may be a representation of the cycle of violence, Abdel antagonizes the police for likely valid reasons. The police retaliate by beating him, which sets off the riots, which leads to more violence, and the cycle continues. And after watching this movie for the first time a few days ago, I went online to look up some video essays and reviews just to try to get a gauge of where people were at critically on this. And something that I noticed that a lot of people bring up when talking about this movie is the structure and how it almost feels plotless. While I agree that this movie is kind of plotless, a lot of interesting and fun things do happen in the movie. It's just the fact that the boys really have no motivation or goal throughout. For the most part, the boys are really just waiting around to find out what is going to happen to their friend Abdel. The only real goal, if you can even call it that any of the boys have throughout the movie is Vin's wanting to get revenge if Abdel dies. So while there isn't much story, so to speak, to spoil for anyone who hasn't seen the movie, I'm not going to go too much farther into any of the other crazy things that happen because I do think this movie is definitely worth experiencing. The boys definitely run into some more interesting characters while they're in Paris, and there are some really funny moments, but there's also some very heavy, very hard to watch moments. One in particular involving some police brutality that I found really hard to watch. And the movie also is just overall super stylish. It's shot in black and white with some really great cinematography and camera movements. And the 90s hip hop soundtrack also just fits super well with the style of the movie. I'd say this is a must-watch for literally any movie lover. Doesn't matter your background, where you're from, what kind of movies you're into, if you're only into horror, if you're only into comedies. I think anyone and everyone should give this movie a shot. It's that good. Alright, that's going to do it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching. If you stuck around this long, let me know in the comments if you've seen this movie, what you think of it. And yeah, I'll have more videos like this coming soon. I know I've been going through my backlog recently and I've mostly just been talking about horror movies, but with the Criterion sale at Barnes & Noble coming up in just about a month, I'm going to try to mix in some more Criterion movies and maybe do some lists of like recommendations. Haine is in the Criterion collection if you didn't catch that already. So this is definitely a high recommend for the sale when it comes around. But yeah, if you like this kind of content, leave it a like, subscribe, and I'll be back soon with more videos like this. Thanks for watching. Peace, guys.